Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy TeflonJohn coming to you courtesy of the Art of Reinvention show. And today I have a very special guest with me, Charese Chambers, the financial therapist.
Yes.
Glad to have you today.
Thank you.
You know, it's been a while. You know, I actually met you, following you on Instagram, on Facebook, just hearing like these little nuggets that were very powerful, like nuggets that people would have to actually pay money for. So could you just introduce yourself to the people so they can know why I got you on today?
All right. I'd love to. Thank you for following me too, by the way.
Anytime.
So I am Charese Chambers with Financial Fancy. I help people save 40 to 60% on practical things that they do every day, creating budgets, cutting coupons, and making a strategic plan with their money to make sure that they're obtaining the goals that they have set for themselves and their family. Also do business assessments. So sometimes when people start a business, they forget that you can still use the practical everydays. You can use a coupon on buying ink for your printer. And also going over deductions and things that they forget sometimes when they sign up for paparazzi or Mary Kay or some kind of direct sales situation. Also do bookkeeping for small business and nonprofits here in Lynchburg.
Wow. Okay, that's an impressive resume.
Thank you.
You know, and what I love about you is you give practical information. And I feel like that, you know, the top percentile of people, which are like the low 5 to, the 3%, sometimes when financial advisors or anyone in that field comes off, I feel like they're talking to them and they're leaving me out, or leaving out the average person. So I feel like your content is really geared towards the average person.
Yes.
So could you give me like the purpose of why you chose to go with practical versus like the big scheme?
That's a good question. So practical savings, it's the small wins that get you the big wins. So a great personal story, and I shared on my Instagram not too long ago, was when me and my husband decided to buy a home, we decided there were some things that needed to go. So we were high subscription based people. We have Amazon Prime, we have XM in the car, so we're like, gosh, we need to make some cuts. So one of the things were getting my nails done. I'm a girl. I love getting my nails done. It's actually one of my self-care regimens that I do. But after I looked at the numbers, I was like, I spent $100 getting my nails done once a month, and that was not practical. And I was like, you know what? When I was little, I used to paint my nails, and that could still be self-care. So I decided to stop going to the professionals to get my nails done, and I started to paint them myself. And it gave a year we were able to, not just by doing my nails, but a multitude of practical things, be able to save up enough money to put a deposit on the house that we purchased.
Wow. And when you're saying it, it makes me think about when I was first brought into the concept of luxury versus a necessity. And then can you break that down for people? Because I think it's hard for people to really decipher like what they need.
Right.
What's a priority versus
Right.
what I would like to have, what I want.
Right. So groceries is always, that's a good example, because some people are like, off-brand ranch tastes different than right than regular, and they might be a little tanged, a little different, but really what it comes down to is preference too. So if you use coupons and have other methods to lower your rate on one end, it could give you a cushion for something else. So my birthday is in August, and one thing I've done is I've created an email just for coupons, because sometimes you get an influx of so many things. The coupons, I signed up for IHOP, I signed up for Dunkin' Donuts, and they all give you free items on your birthday. I could eat free for the whole month of August because of all of the things I signed up for. IHOP, and they do anniversaries. I love that. So I get a coupon for a free fruit and tutti fresh and fruity on my anniversary, and again for my birthday. So just those practical things. You're already doing it. Why not just take the extra step? It's a no-brainer.
Okay. So when it comes to that, right? If someone's like, hey, look, I want to save. I want to start building wealth, or start trying to build it. Let's start with the basics. Someone wants to build a savings account,
right?
But they think $10 is not enough to save, so they don't save any at all. Should they save what they can, or how should they start with that process?
So the first thing is to gauge your expenses to your income. Okay, so if you're making, hopefully you're making more income than your expenses. And it's always good to look back. So once a month is done, it's actually not done. What a thing I like to do with clients is look back a month prior and then reassess what we've gauged. Like, all right, if your allowance is $100 a week, I saw that you went to La Coretta's one week, you went to Fridays the next week, you went to see Arrested Development and bought tickets for that. And all those little things start adding up very quickly. And then you can say, you know what? I didn't do so well doing X, Y, and Z. And then you can see moving forward how you can do better. But you have to look back to do better. You know, anybody say that we repeat history if we don't learn from it. The same thing with your finances. We are not reinventing the wheel here. These are same practical things that your grandma, your mama, your daddy hopefully have spoken into you, and we just really need to take it into practice.
Yeah, and I see a lot of people don't take advantage of the apps, because I know with BB&T, I remember at one point they had implemented where you can do like a breakdown of what you're spending. And it's funny if you spend, like, people look at it like, oh, I'm spending $6 for this meal. $8 for this meal because it's short shots.
Right.
But in a month's time, once you do that filter, I was surprised on how much money I was spending on food outside the house after spending X amount on groceries.
I've most definitely been in that boat.
Okay, so what is your advice for people who feel like, you know, they can't make certain cuts, you know, like you did for getting their nails done? Where are some areas where they can start first?
Well, first of all, if you're someone who pays your credit card on time and you're paying the interest, you are well in your right to call them and say, hey, I'm a good customer. Would you consider taking off your APR rate, not charging me interest? And I have had a couple clients where they lowered their APR rate to 0%. It's just a matter of opening that conversation. I think people think that they have to take what's given unto them. But a lot of times it's just really opening your mouth. You've had your car for over 2 years and they're charging you 20% interest rate. You've been paying on time or early. You know, I love the early portion. Even if it's 5 days, you have created a reputation with them to go in and say, hey, is there any way we can reconsider lowering my APR rate? Cars, which is a big purchase ticket, because what you don't want to continue to happen is you're paying down on the principal and you're taking the 5 years to pay it off when you could really do it in 2, and that interest rate by itself is a good chunk.
Now, can you break that down, because that's something that you hear a lot about is, you know, a car and a house, I believe, are the two biggest investments that you're going to make. One, and being a house, you can pay down the bill and build equity, but a car always loses value, right? So could you tell the importance of how that principal versus interest works, you know, for, let's say, a $400 payment, and if that's set over 5 or 6 years, what are some strategies that they can do to knock down that interest, and try to explain interest so people can understand that?
Yeah, so I'm taking even a simpler number because I can do it in my head easier.
Okay.
So let's say I say, Jonathan, hey, I really need $100. And he's like, sure, Charese, I'll give you $100. But you need to pay me back in 5 days, and the interest rate is going to be 5%. So I'm like, great, that's fine. So the way simple interest works is that every day, that's daily, you're accruing the interest on the principal by itself. So if you let me borrow $100, every day I owe you $5. So if I pay you 5 days from now, I owe you $125. But if I pay you early in 3 days, I only owe you $115. So $5 each day, 3 days, 3 times 5 is 15. The principal was $100, that's $15. So you imagine if you borrowed the money for a day, you'd be only paying $105. So the difference between paying the 1 day to the 5 is $20.
Wow.
And we're just talking about 5 days. So imagine you had a credit card or a car, a bigger amount, and you took 2 years, how much interest just even in a month's time could quickly accumulate so quickly. So even if you just paid the extra $10, it's worth it, because you could possibly pay it off in less, you know, maybe take it off a year.
So what could an extra $50 do per month to someone's car payment?
Oh my goodness.
That's
well,
just
the first
every
thing
2
is
weeks.
it'd be hitting the principal. That's what you want to lower. You want to lower the principal. Have you ever, that's another thing, a lot of people don't look at their credit card bill. They just pay the minimum or pay whatever they're going to pay. Have you ever noticed that as you put more money, as your credit limit increases, the more the minimum is? Because now you got to remember, the principal of the amount that you owe them went up. Vice versa. The more you pay, the lower your principal is, the less they require for you to pay on that minimum, because they're hoping you just pay the minimum so they can charge you that interest. So keep paying. If your card, you're paying, you got furniture, you just use something different. You bought some furniture, it was $1,000, and you're paying $100. And then somehow when you get to that $500, all of a sudden they're like, oh, we just want you to pay $50 now. No, I'm going to keep paying that $100 so I can pay it off faster. You're not going to keep me tied up for 5 years. That's always the 5 years is probably the best example, because most places have their loan for that period of time. Now,
what is your view now? You said that on refinance, because I've met people that were disciplined enough to where they went in and got this card, high interest, like 28% or something, and they're paying like, $600 a month. Within a year, they built their credit and they dropped the interest rate to 12%. But they continue paying the $600 a month, and then they end up knocking the bill down, dramatically,
right?
Or paying it off earlier. Like, what is your advice for that? Like, how can you break that down for people to understand what I'm trying to tell them?
Well, you're paying more on the principal. If you're consistent and still pay more than the minimum, you're going to, one, put yourself in a better place too, because the way that credit's set up is, it's about the length of time, what kind of credit it is, and new credit, and also your credit history. So if you're also paying early, paying more, you're going to increase your credit score dramatically and in a short period of time, because your credit is reported every 30 days. So it's almost like every month you get a new chance to start fresh or see what something new.
So what is your advice for people that want to start on the credit journey?
Well, first you need to write down everybody you owe. You gotta take ownership and write down everybody you owe. You got a hospital bill from 10 years ago. You need to write it down. You need to look up those things and then start with the ones you can knock off first. Always current debt. So if you have a credit card now, paying that off. Anything past due, call them. Don't ever be afraid. I'll tell you real life, just a transparent moment. When I was in college, I had 11 credit cards, and I got into a situation where I just could not pay them anymore. I did a consolidation, but I called those creditors and told them, hey, this is my situation. And they were more than willing. A lot of times there are programs. If there's food stamp programs, an emergency, why would there not be a program for if something happened to you with your credit card? So calling them, telling them what happens, letting them tell you what your options are and working it out with them, so one, it doesn't hit your credit so bad. And you know what your options are, because running away from them, not answering their phone calls, that's not good, because you'll get what they call a credit card relief paper for taxes. This is fun. Yes.
Credit card relief?
Yes.
For taxes?
So basically what happens is the credit card company writes off the debt, but because they wrote it off, they consider it income by the government. So imagine you had, let's say, easy, $10,000 worth of credit cards. They relieved you of all of them. You are no longer liable to pay them. Imagine reporting an extra $10,000 on your income tax that no taxes were taken off of, and now you owe the government money. Now, how would that change your situation?
Wow. Yeah,
and I see that happening more frequently, because people credit card companies are doing it more frequently, because when they can write off the debt, then it gives them a tax break, but then it becomes your liability to pay the taxes on it, because they consider it income.
Gotcha. Okay. Wow. So what is your view on the consolidation programs that someone can start? Because some people view, well, all they're doing is taking these bills and breaking it down and giving me a lump sum to pay it.
Right.
And some people view that it really helps them.
Yeah. So the first thing it does, depending on what kind of consolidation you do, I always like doing personal ones. If your credit score is not awfully bad, and you can go through like maybe a One Main Financial or another, not one of those like TV consolidated people, but one, you now no longer have to pay 11 credit card bills. You're paying one person, and the amount is lower. So when I did my first consolidation, let's say I had 11 credit cards, I was kind of able to make it, but I just did not have breathing room to live to and pay my rent. $100. Let's say I was paying $100 was the minimum. That's $1,100. That's my rent times two.
Wow.
So when I did my consolidation, I only had to pay, I want to say it was like $425. That's less than half.
Yeah.
So what I did, instead of paying, and then of course the term was for 5 years, I was paying $6. So that's $500 less than what I was paying all the 100s, paying one person. I was able to put an extra $175 on the principal without the interest. I was able to pay the debt in 2.5 years.
5 years down to 2.5? Wow. You know, most people, they don't see the value in actually paying extra and trying to get the debt down, because most people, and you know, it's easy for you to go get $1,000 purchase on your credit card and pay $25 a month. And I realized, like, because they give you the breakdown, at this rate it'll take you, sometimes it'll take like 30 years or something crazy. And people will continue to pay the minimum balance. But how do you think the like the lack of knowledge, like a lot of people are ignorant to finances, and they end up paying more because they don't know. Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna give you a little tough love. You just gotta be disciplined. You gotta have the accountability. You gotta want to and be consistent in that want. Just like losing weight. I always use weight because they parallel very easily. You know, it's almost like you work out one time, you're like, oh, I then lost 5 pounds. Like, yeah, you ready to kill it, right?
Yeah.
Just like with your finances, when you first see that first $20 in your savings account, you need to get excited about that little win, because if you put $20 every time you get paid, as soon as it's going to be $100, then soon it's going to be $1,000. And one challenge me and my husband did last year was whenever time we broke a big bill and we got back a 5, we put it in a savings account. We took all of those 5s and we ended up saving like $4,000 in 7 months. And you know what? The other thing, what it brought up,
just $5 bills.
Yes, when we broke a big bill. So the 2 things happened. One, I was like, we're throwing away money we don't even realize, right? Because I'm like, how did we save for it? Where did that money come from? Like, where did that go? Where I didn't even know. But we were able to use the money to go on a vacation. We went to Virginia Beach for the weekend and rented the room,
Something
whatever.
simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Something that simple.
Instead of being, and sometimes not being proactive a little bit, unintentional, brought about a big win. So you need to be intentional, but sometimes you can do practical things. Another thing, people who like just so antsy, like they just cannot hold money for nothing. Envelope methods, making sure you put your allowance in the envelope, and then when you run out your allowance, you can't spend no more money. You got to cut it off, And then also, we always say that we're logical people, but we're emotional people. If you're happy, you want to buy stuff. When you're sad, you want to buy something. When you're upset, when you're, it's like eating. Again, they just parallel so easily together. But if you could just hold that and just find a way to navigate those feelings, or even journaling it, just processing what it is you're thinking, and then find a way to move forward in it.
Yeah, and those are great tips. I mean, I really love the $5, because it's something that you don't think would add up. You know what I mean? So how did you get on these little challenges? Do you have any other challenges that may can help?
The $5 challenge probably was the biggest one we've ever done. But even just your change, we've always my dad's been collecting change since I was little, but this is something that correlates, that moved as an adult. And then you start taking it to Kroger's and you're like, I made $30 in a month, my aunt, she collects cans still. I know you probably don't get much money, but it's money that you didn't have to do anything for either, because you're already buying soda cans, So just thinking of practical ways. I was telling you about the app about getting gas, called Upside Down, and you got to get gas, and gas is a cajillion dollars right now. So this app pays you 20 cents on the gallon for something you're already going to get in your PayPal account. So why not?
So it's just stacking up money.
Just stacking up money. Gas. I made $5 last week for getting gas.
Wow.
Yeah, so great.
Well, it's and I think what you're doing is you're really shining a light to stuff that people can do with little to no effort. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people can take advantage of it, because it's not like they have to spend a lot of money to try to get money back. Now, what is your take on how you were breaking down savings accounts, right? So another thing is when you work a job like 401k, and you got a lot of options for investments. But so many people view that as you're taking, now I got to save, I got to do 401k. So can we get into that just a little bit more?
So a 401, okay, so let's start over. So there's multiple retirement. So a lot of times people don't talk about that one. There's a 401, there's a 403, that's another retirement that employers do. And that's where they contribute. It's almost like a borderline pension. You find it more with state employees. And then you have HSAs, so that's another form. And they don't get as much light as they should. So an HSA and an FSA. So an HSA is a health savings account. So that's where your employer pays a portion of some kind of health funds that you can use for health care stuff. So you could pay for your co-pays, prescriptions, things like that. And it's tax-free. I love this, and this is a method I use for a lot of people who end up owing taxes, is paying yourself in a secret way. And it's not a secret way. Actually, you're just using the rules that your employer and the government has laid out for you. So to put yourself in a lower tax bracket, if you can at all possible, match as much as you can. And every year it changes how much you can contribute. And if you got to get glasses, I wear contacts, you got to go do a physical, typically that's included. Putting aside that money ahead of time and calculating out how much you're going to put, and it could actually help lower your tax bracket when you get your tax at the end of the year. So that's another conversation. If you like to get money at the beginning of the year, I don't care if I get a refund check, because this is the only institution where the government can hold your money a whole year interest-free. If I had a loan, I'd have to pay interest on it. Somehow the government gets to hold your money all year long, and then you get excited about getting a big check at the beginning of the year. That's a whole nother conversation. But if you do like getting a check, putting yourself in a lower tax bracket so that you can get a bigger return, you can do that through your HSA, but it's still your money. So instead of doing I used to advise people to say, like, take an extra $20 on federal and an extra $10 on state, to even it out. But you're letting the government hold that money for free. Why not just put that money into your HSA? And you can roll that money over in retirement when you turn a certain age, and it's tax-free.
Wow.
Tax-free.
Wow. Yeah, you're really teaching me something. Now, with 401k, say I'm 34 years old.
Okay.
How much do you recommend I should be putting in?
For your 401, well, actually, it depends on how would you envision you and your wife to live when you're older. And that's one thing I was saying on my financial fact on Instagram today. My grandmother, she no longer gets her hair done every week, but she gets her hair done. She used to get her hair done once a week on Friday. She used to go get a roller set. And I was like, man, when I get older, that's what I want to do. I don't want to own no shampoo or conditioner. I was visiting, and I was like, Grandma, what's the shampoo? She's like, I don't have any. I was like, oh, yeah, because she gets her hair done. But if that's how you want to live, if you want to live the same way you have accustomed to now, long term, then what does that look like? So that means you need to have an extra $20,000, $25,000, well, I don't know how much you make, or, and then also, too, is your house going to be paid off? Is your car? So, really, people are like, oh, I don't want to do the budgeting. You will do that for the rest of your life. What, voluntarily or involuntarily, the inactivity, sometimes people are like, even when you don't do something, you're doing it. So if you don't work out, you don't lose the weight. If you work out, you lose the weight. It's almost like pick your heart. Yeah. Do you want to, 5 years from now, still be having the conversation about, I want to buy a house. Oh, I need a savings account. I don't have an emergency fund. My car broke down. Or do you want to proactively make a plan how you want to live forward? So whatever the way that you want to live, then because everybody's plan is going to be different. Everybody's savings, and everyone has different jobs and the way that they can navigate their money. You got kids, you don't have kids, you got dogs, you got whatever your life is, Are you someone who wants to travel all over the world? Do you really, and then that's the other thing too. I think sometimes, we were talking about that before we started filming, the narrative, sometimes we're so caught up in what other people tell us we should be doing with our lives, with our money, with our time, that we've created a narrative where we're trying to obtain what they said, and we're not even doing what we want to do. So who says I want to live? I've been trying to push my husband. Like, I was like, can we get one of those houses off of Jefferson Street? I want to live in one of those lofts. And he's like, but that's another thing too. Back in the day, a family would buy a home. One of the kids would move into the house, and then the house would stay in the family. Oh, yeah. And then me and my husband had the conversation. I was like, you know what? I don't think either one of our kids want this house. So what happens when we die? The house. So we've worked so hard for this home for what? For status, because we're supposed to keep this in the family. So really, you need to have the conversation is not really just with you, but with everybody. So I guess so you can get a full narrative of what it looks like, so that you can move your money the way you need to. Like, back in the day, my aunt, she passed away, and we came to find out she had like 5 different life insurance policies because she wanted to have one on each grandchild.
Wow.
And no one ever told her she could just get one and pay one principal, one policy, and make riders.
Yeah.
No one uses those words, and that's I guess the other part too, the vocabulary. Like, I don't want to scare people, like be using all these big words like ROAs and returns on investments and all this other stuff. Like, what does that mean? What does that look like?
Yeah.
It's just so, the financials are so multidimensional. It's not just life insurance. It's just not couponing. It's not just savings. It's a collective effort of all those pieces that make the big picture.
Okay, now let's talk about the effects of social media when it comes to people's finances.
I don't want to talk about it. No, I'm saying.
Because when you said something about the way society or the way people view you, I feel like a lot of people could live better financially, but they're pressured to have a certain look. They're pressured to have certain shoes or, certain car. Like, how many people do you know that are content with their car that you know of? As soon as like you trade yours in or a family member trade theirs in, I want a car.
I don't know. No. Yeah. So I talked to the Sandusky Middle School kids last year. My girlfriend Ebony had asked me to come. And it was really interesting. And that was the main conversation about the perpetration. And it's so funny because you know somebody off the top of your head that they don't have a lot of money, but they always showing a whole bunch of $20 bills on their bed, but that's the rent money.
Yeah.
Like, come on now.
That's crazy.
So, like, really put things in perspective, like, really, like, and their story is not your story. You live somewhere, I live somewhere. I want to get my hair washed every day. I'm sure, whatever that is. So you can't tailor your story on what other people will say. And it takes discipline just to really get to a point where you're just like, you just don't.
Yeah, you don't
care. That
and I think a lot is learned behavior too, because I remember when I was getting to the point where I had traded in my car, like, for the 3rd time. I didn't know anything about credit. Didn't know anything. I'm like, I don't own a vehicle. Even though I'm driving it, it still has a lien against it. And once I got to the point where it was like 2 years for paying my car, I'm like, I'm done for a while.
Okay.
Because I wanted to get an SUV.
Man, I
Because I had a
my first
vision.
car. Yes.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get an SUV. I'm gonna pay this off. And I'm like, you know what? Now I'm gonna live a little. That way I can use that money and invest in my vision, because I don't need an SUV.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Me and my wife have a car and a truck, so I don't need another vehicle.
Right.
But it's the fact of what we see, and it's the fact of, I guess, the fact of, sometimes wanting that status that we forget to, and we actually look at our finances like, if I didn't have this payment, once this payment's gone, or if I didn't have this going out, and then we get to the point where it's gone, and now we want to replace it. Why is that? Why do people feel the need to replace? You know what I mean? Like, you're going up and you're not owning anything.
It's 2 parts. One, because of what we see other people doing, but the other part is the push that people put on us too. Like, all right, so something very big. Our family always jokes that me and my husband are Oprah and Stedman, and I just got to a point where I was like, gosh, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that, because you kind of putting me in a space where it's like, I want to be successful. But at what cost? Like, you're like, you got to push, you got to, so it's like, and then also the other stigma is a lot of times people think because you're an entrepreneur or because you have a home that you don't have the same struggles. What did Biggie say? More money, more problems. Because if I have a house, that means I got, when you move from an apartment to a house, now I got a water bill, because most apartments include your water bill. Now I got trash. I got all these extra stuff. So just because I've accumulated something and put myself in a different space does not mean that I don't still have the same struggles. It's really just, again, that accountability, like, again, and not letting someone take your narrative from you. Like, if I want to buy a house, I want to buy a house. If I want to buy a new car, I want to buy a new car. If I don't want to buy a new car, then you don't have to.
Exactly.
But don't let other people make you feel like you got to do something because they're doing it. Or like people going out every weekend. Like, I see you out, you be on Fridays every weekend. Be like, okay.
Yeah.
Stop counting my money.
Yeah, and some people feel like, but some people feel like, it's like they have to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They feel like the moment they don't, I'm like, you're a grown person. You're not 12 years old, or you're not a teenager and
Right.
going to school getting picked on.
Right.
Like, you're grown. Do what you want to do, or don't do what you want to do. And I feel like in the African American community, I feel like we feel like we've been left out, and we got to do. And it's like, hold on. You're telling me that you got on a pair of shoes for like $200. But then you're complaining about, I can't save money, or I don't have that in my savings account.
Right.
And so my whole thing to that is just from that standpoint of knowing value.
Right.
Okay, like, what do you value? Do you actually value, like, are you putting your money in stuff that's going to bring back value?
Right. That comes to that emotional part. Like, we're logical people. Like, you're making sense. And I'm sure somebody's like, duh, that makes sense, right? But then it comes to that part where logic is thrown out the window, and you just in that moment, you're just like, I gotta get those new Jordans.
Yeah.
I gotta go get them Louis Vuittons. I gotta, whatever it is. I gotta go to the all black party. I gotta go to the all white. I gotta whatever. And you just have to stop and and resonate in that, and just be okay with that. Yeah.
I've seen kids suffer because parents grow up with nothing. So then they develop this, they do it. They go out, they grind, they get great jobs, get great education, and now they impress this lifestyle on their kids, and the kids feel the pressure. Now we got to have nice things. We always got to have. But you're giving them this materialistic mindset, not realizing.
Right.
You're healing this part that you have been hurt with of not having, but you're not teaching them anything of the value of these things. You know what I'm saying? And I think so many people, and it kind of leads into saving money. It's like, well, why should I value putting money away when I can have this, this, and this?
Yeah, you really just have to change your mindset, and it kind of correlates to the people too. I realized that as soon as I changed the company that I kept, it helped a whole lot to change that narrative, and I hear the same things over and over and over again. Like, people always say they broke. People who always, who are like, I had food. We have food stamps. Look, I'm 34. We have food stamps in a booklet. So it's like, nowadays you can't even tell who's got what. So I'm one of 7 children. I know what it's like to struggle. We have oodles and noodles, all the fun stuff, hamburger helper. And I think also on the other side, my parents were divorced. My mom, we lived in California. It's more expensive to live out there, but being broke there is a little bit different than being broke in Virginia. We were country, Yorktown. Living in California, it was like you go to the beach and kind of get away with not having much and still look like you had. But just getting yourself around the right amount of people. I say that you are the sum of the top 5 people that you consult with.
And I'm glad that you're going there, because I've seen so many people. Let's say work. Now you got all these work colleagues or whatever. You got coworkers that you're chilling with, or people that work for you. But now you feel like you have to do what they do. So every time they invite you out for lunch, you have to go, and now you find yourself in a hole because you're spending let's say $10 per day per meal. That's $50 a week, and now you don't have it. So, but you're going to go to keep that status.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Again, if you, this is gonna be mind changing for you. If you could just find a way to not care. I know it's hard. It's hard. It's just that part. If you could find a way to not care what other people think, it will put you in such a mind space and an environment where it's amazing. And a lot of people say, I don't care what somebody, but they really do.
They do.
But if you do not give 2 cents, what I really want to say, but if you don't give 2 cents, I'm trying to tell you, this is mind changing. If you do not care what other people think of you, it will create this dimension. I can only speak from, I was just telling my friend, being an entrepreneur and telling people I'm going to start a business, if you can get yourself in a space where you do not that you're disrespectful, not like you're not putting people off, but if you come to a place where you do not care what your mom, brother, sister, cousin says, it will free you not only in your finances, but the way that you navigate your life in a way that I cannot describe, because I have that feeling. And it took me years to get there, but if I could have gotten that younger, honey, oh my goodness, I'd be so in a different headspace. It'd just be, but if you could get there, if you could not care what other people say, genuinely, legit, not care what people say.
I think that's very
I can't
very
say
powerful.
it. There's no other way to say it, but
I mean, I don't want you to say it that way.
right.
But, I mean, I just think that's very powerful, and I definitely got to get you back on for a continuation. But I think that's very powerful because I remember when I got to that point, like I'm like, this is what I want to do. Like, you know what I'm saying? After I was denied for approval, like to trade my car in, then I actually looked at my credit and I'm like, yo, this is your fault. Like, yo, you can't really blame or be mad or feel like you have every opportunity to turn this around. So, with that said, I had to make sacrifices.
Right.
Don't spend, now I got to invest. Okay, let's get your credit right. Let's pay some things off. Let's, get some credit cards to establish. Let's get into the game of really focusing on getting something that's going to have value.
Right.
Versus paying $200 for some Jordans that'll be tore up in 2 years. Now I get this credit card that may start off at $1,000 limit that can grow. Now I can do balance transfers. I can do cash advances if I'm ever jammed up.
Right around spending.
Yeah.
That's like,
but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, it's
but
a
that's
thing
free, and
when
you
have
can
the
move.
option.
Yeah, when you have options,
Yeah.
that's the key. Options.
When you
yes.
have that option, because like I tell people, like I'm not the credit card spender.
Right.
But if something happens,
Right.
transmission, God forbid anything,
Right.
you have the option
Right.
versus. Well, got to put these
Right.
Jordans to use now because you don't have a you
Right.
you don't have a
Right.
car. You know what I mean?
It's that part, because it's not a if something's going to happen. As an adult,
when.
that's the other part. You already know. Like, I've had my car break down. I had my catalytic converter go out. That was $1,200.
Wow.
Okay, that's
Wow.
money. You know what I'm saying? It's not if, it's when.
Yeah.
And in preparation, you don't have to get ready if you stay ready.
Wow.
You don't have to get ready if you stay ready. I'm not saying you gotta have a whole bunch of money. I most definitely, when I spent that $1,200 to get my car fixed, honey, I was hurt. But it was a comfort to know that I had to take a payday loan out.
Gotcha.
It was a comfort I didn't have to put on a credit card or something like that. I paid.
Got you.
And then had to just re-up. You just gotta turn. You gotta get back to it. Yeah.
That's what I like.
Yeah.
We gonna end in with that. You don't have to do what? You don't have to.
You don't have to get ready if you stay ready.
One more time.
You don't have to get ready if you stay ready.
Yeah, we gonna end it with that. It was a pleasure having you.
Yes.
Hey, look. So just briefly, why should someone choose you as their financial therapist?
Because I'm going to save you coins. I mean, that's what everybody wants to do. They want to increase their credit score. They want to save more money. They want to know how to do it. And they also want someone to talk to about their money. Money is something that is, taboo almost, very much like a lot of subjects. And, you just don't want to talk to anybody about it. I can promise and guarantee you, if you've ever watched my channel, when I go shopping, I save at least 60 to 75%. I can show you tactics to save 30 to 40% on grocery bills, everything, things that you're going to do anyways, cutting coupons, and creating a vision of what you want your life to look like long term.
Wow. Now, briefly, how can they get in touch with you?
So you can schedule a free 15-minute consultation on financialfancy.com. That's my website. You can hit me up on my Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Charese Chambers, all the same across the board. And if you want to see the genuine down-to-earth person, you could follow me on Snapchat on Leah Chambers, but that is unadulterated. So
Gotcha. Okay. Look, it was a blessing to have
Yes.
you. I believe that you dropped a lot of jewels.
Thank you.
I hope people pick them up. But just remember, if you have a vision, if you have a goal or dream, it's very important to get on board with what Charese is saying, because it's going to take money. It's not even a man who sleeps must get up one day to make dreams a reality. And the only way to do that now is to actually put money out. People are not going to invest in you until you first invest in yourself. And that sums it up. And as I always say, one love, be blessed.